Hey everybody, this is Tim at Osprey Crafts. I just wanted to do a quick video regarding my anchor arms. I get a lot of questions from folks that are looking to order one as to which style they should use for their canoe. I've got questions on installation and rope size, and then recently I've had a couple of guys have issues with the pulley, the spring system on their Scott canoe or main freighter anchor arm pulley here. So I wanted to go over some of that today. It'll be quick. This is just a rough video trying to get some information out to help people out. So this is our Scott canoe main freighter anchor arm. It's basically 3.5 inches by 2 inches. It's a solid ash blank, and it's got a Greenfield pulley on the front. Now Barry up at Two Rivers showed these to me, and I really like them. I've been using them for years. I'll show you what the package looks like. It's this right here. It's made by a company called Greenfield, and it's got this really solid, sturdy metal frame here, and I like that because on my canoe, on my Scott canoe, I have a 17-pound anchor off the bow, and the other pulleys that I'll show you in a minute that are on the basic model, the Atwood pulleys, I really don't think they're set up to hold anything that heavy, at least not over time. So I do really like these, although there's a little bit of a flaw in the spring. I'll show you that in a minute. So when you order it, you'll get this anchor arm. There's this piece right here that will fit up, that'll wedge up in by your handle in the front, and then there are two braces that go in the back, on the back side here. One of them is 12 inches, one of them is 14. So the 12-inch one actually goes underneath the gunnels, and the 14 goes on top of the gunnels. And so you basically sandwich the gunnels, and you have a carriage bolt and this nice soft rubber knob that goes down through the whole thing. And you can really, it's a big knob, you can really torque it down so this thing will not move, even when you're in moving water in the river, which is what I like. I've had some bad experiences with some of the other anchor arms, and that's why I ended up going into the business of making them, was because I've had some get ripped off in the river, and I really didn't like the design. So I kind of worked with Barry up at Two Rivers years ago, and then had some of my own ideas, and we came up with this, and it works really well. So I'm going to take you over now and show you what mine looks like on my Scott canoe, and show you some of the modifications I made on that one, and then I'll talk a little bit about the basic anchor arm. Okay, so this is mine set up on my Scott canoe, and you can see the anchor arm there with the pulley at the end, and as I said, I don't know where I came up with a 17-pound anchor, but I did come up with a 17-pound anchor, which is pretty heavy. And so here you can see that triangular shaped piece that goes in front of your handle there, and then back here are the braces, and there's a little dado that's set there so you can sandwich your gunnels right in there, and there's a little notch here that fits over this little lip right here on your Scott or your main freighter. So this is what mine looks like now. I made a couple of modifications. Okay, I added this eye bolt back here to help direct the rope, and I'll show you why in a minute. But the biggest thing I did, and I really think guys ought to think about this, is I just bypass this whole thing right here and don't even use it. You can see my spring, I just broke that this morning playing with it. If you monkey around with this too much, those springs are really thin and it will break, no doubt. But to me, it doesn't matter, because I like to be able to quick drop my anchor, and I'll show you in a minute, I'll back on that other one, what it looks like if you're using this trigger. But so mine, I'm using 7/16 rope, which is much easier on the hands than a 1/2 inch rope, which they recommend, I think, for this. And so mine goes back. I've got a couple of these pulleys. These things are like just a couple bucks a piece at the hardware store. They do stick out a little bit, but they really don't get in the way. So I've got 3 of those on the gunnels down towards the stern, and then I got to come around here a little bit. I bought this, it's called a clam cleat back here, And so the rope just slides into that and grips. So when you're especially in a river situation, you want to get that anchor down quick before you go sideways or you start drifting. So I can just pull this up and drop my anchor and it's in the water. And then I just slide it in there and it stays. So it's on, I've got a thwart that I modified into a shelf back here, but I've seen guys mount them right on the gunnels on the top or even on the side, and they will work. And I really like that. And so you can see that eye bolt sort of directs that line. Directs that line over to this first pulley. So if I have somebody sitting in the bow, it doesn't get in their way. And it's really easy to pull this thing with the 7/16 inch rope. One thing I would say is rope can be expensive if you buy it by the foot at the hardware store. So I recommend braided rope, and I got this actually at Home Depot. I got a 100-foot section of rope for $47, and that is a bargain, and it's good stuff. It'll last for several years. Some of the other stuff I'm going to show you in a minute is just junk. So I don't recommend anything except this braided line, and I really like the 7/16 with this setup right here. Anything smaller than that, it's just hard on your hands. So this is the setup. This is a new anchor arm right here. This is one that I would sell, and you can see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I got some of this 1/2 inch poly something rope. I don't know what it is, but you see on the back of the trigger there's part of the spring that comes right across the back, and then if you look on the front, there's this little U-shaped part of the spring that clamps over. So that's how it should look when it's properly set up. You can use this. Some people like that, but I preferred, like I said, the quick drop. So when you pull it up, you can see the anchor coming up, and you basically just let off the line real quick, and it will clamp down on it and hold. The only problem, like I said before, is when you want to drop your anchor, you kind of have to hold the rope up at an angle and slowly let it out so that clamp doesn't, the trigger doesn't come down and clamp it. So again, some people can do that. I prefer to just use the clam cleat and drop it. Okay, so this is my basic anchor arm. See, it's got an Atwood pulley on the tip of it. It's 32 inches long. There's a series of holes here, so this thing is very adjustable. I made it originally for Old Town canoes, but I've had a lot of people buy these for other style canoes, and it's pretty flexible. You can get it to fit just about anything. It comes with a couple of braces. So these are 8-inch braces. These are 12.5-inch braces, and just like the Scott Canoe anchor arm, it comes with these carriage bolts and these big knobs to help clamp down on it. So this one also has a trigger here that is, I think it's rated for 1/2-inch rope. It's a little bit easier to use than the Greenfield, but this pulley definitely is not as rugged as the Greenfield. But it's perfectly. I mean, I run a 10-pound anchor on my Old Town Discovery Sport, and this is more than enough for that, and it works really well. If you're sitting in the back of the canoe by yourself and you've got this off the bow, it makes a huge difference lifting that anchor. It really works well. I love it. I use it when I go vertical jigging in the smaller ponds. So I'll show you now on my canoe how that is set up. Okay, so here's my this is my Old Town Sport. It's the 15-footer, and it's very similar. The setup is very similar to the Scott Canoe. Basically, you've got the braces sandwich the gunnels, and then you can crank them down with those nice big knobs. So the big braces go in the back. You basically push it up as far as, I have it set at the very back hole, and then I push it up until these under here are tight against the sloping gunnel, so they can't go forward anymore. And then the smaller one, the 8-inch ones, are meant to go through the handle. Right there, you can see. So once you clamp those things down, I mean, you can use that as a handle. It will not spin and come loose in the current like some of the other ones I've used. And so again, with this setup, so on this setup I've got a 10-pound anchor. You can use, this is actually 1/4 inch rope. It's rated for up to 1/2 inch rope. It'll work either way. But with mine, similar to my Scott canoe, I put in one pulley just behind the bow seat, and then again I put another clam cleat right on my gunnel back here. So this is actually mine, the one I use. It's a, let's call it a factory second, but you can see I took the trigger right out of it. I put the eye bolt in it just like with my Scott, and then I run it back to this clam cleat, and I just like to be able to just lift and drop, and that'll be right. That's right in there, and it's holding tight. So you can use it either way, either with the trigger, or you can get a clam cleat. I get them off Amazon. They're like, I don't know, 12 bucks or something like that. It's pretty handy. Okay, thanks. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions, give me an email at info@ospreycrafts.com.